Two men bought the exact same car on the exact same day from the exact same dealership. One of them traded his in every 3 years for something newer. The other one kept his for 15. They both think they made the smarter choice. They're both wrong. But one of them is wrong by $156,000. And here's the part that's going to bother you. The guy who lost that money never missed a single payment. He never got into debt trouble. He never did anything that anyone around him would call irresponsible. His credit score is excellent. He just did the normal thing, over and over, for 15 years. Let me show you the math nobody runs. Let's keep this fair. Same everything. Marcus and Dean are both 29 years old. Same city. Same income, about $72,000 a year. Same commute, about 12,000 miles a year. Neither one of them is rich. Neither one of them is broke. On the same Saturday, they each buy the same car, $45,000, which, by the way, is roughly what the average new vehicle actually costs in America right now. Not a luxury car. A normal, mid-range, 4-door, nothing special new car. They each put $3,000 down. They each finance $42,000 over 72 months at 7.5%. That's a 6-year loan, which is now completely standard. Their payment is $726 a month. Same car, same loan, same payment, same day. The only thing that's different is what happens in year 3. Year 3 arrives and Marcus is done with this car. Nothing's wrong with it. That's important. Nothing is wrong with it. It just isn't new anymore. The infotainment system is a generation behind. There's a scuff on the rear bumper from a parking garage. His neighbor just pulled in with the redesigned model. So Marcus goes back to the dealership, and the salesman says the sentence that has cost Americans more money than almost any other sentence in the English language. Let's see what we can do about getting you into something newer. And here's why it feels like winning. Marcus doesn't write a check. He doesn't drain his savings. He walks in with one car and walks out with a brand new one. And his payment goes from $726 to $831. $105 a month. That's it. That's the entire felt cost of a brand new car. $105 is one dinner out. It's a streaming bundle. It's nothing. And in exchange, Marcus gets a factory warranty, 0 repair anxiety, that new car smell, and 3 more years of not thinking about any of this. Meanwhile, Dean is still driving the same car. Year 3, year 4, year 5. It's fine. It's just the same car. For those first few years, Marcus is objectively having a better time. I want to be honest about that. He's driving nicer cars. He's not sitting in a service department waiting room. His experience of car ownership is genuinely better. But feelings and math are two very different things. Let's go back to that trade-in, and let's look at what actually happened on the paperwork. Because Marcus didn't read it. Almost nobody reads it. At year 3, Marcus's car is worth about $21,500 as a trade-in. That's normal depreciation. A new car loses roughly half its value in 3 years, and the dealer pays below retail. But Marcus was on a 72-month loan, and he was only 36 months in, so he still owed $23,300 on it. $21,500 in value, $23,300 owed. Marcus was upside down by about $1,800. That's not a scandal. That's just what happens when the loan is longer than the time you keep the car. And here's what the dealership did with that $1,800. They didn't ask him to pay it. They rolled it into the next loan. Marcus didn't lose that money. He financed it on top of a more expensive car for another 6 years at 7.5%. Now watch what that does over 15 years. Watch the payment. Year 0, $726 a month. Year 3, $831. Year 6, $933. Year 9, $1,039. Year 12, $1,151. Every 3 years, Marcus feels like he's making a small upgrade for about $100 more. And every 3 years, the negative equity from the last car climbs into the new loan and sits there. By car number 5, Marcus is financing over $5,000 of pure ghost. Money for cars he doesn't even own anymore. His payment went up 58%. His income didn't. Now here's the number that actually matters. Add up every payment, every down payment over 15 years. Marcus paid about $183,000. And at the end of year 15, what does Marcus own? A 3-year-old car worth about $30,000 with about $37,000 still owed on it. After 15 years and $183,000, Marcus's net position on transportation is negative $6,000. Dean, meanwhile, made his last payment in month 72, year 6. Then he did the single most boring thing in personal finance. Nothing. He kept driving, 9 years with no car payment. The number everyone talks about is the monthly payment. What nobody talks about is everything that quietly rides along with it. Insurance. A newer, more expensive car costs more to insure. And if you're financing, full coverage isn't optional. The lender requires it. Across 15 years of always driving a car under 3 years old, Marcus paid roughly $45 a month more than Dean. That's about $8,000. Nobody ever put that on a window sticker, registration, and taxes. In a lot of states, these are tied to vehicle value. Newer car, higher bill, every single year, forever, the rollover. We covered this, but it deserves its own line, because it's the mechanism. Marcus paid interest on cars he no longer owned. That is the most quietly expensive thing in this entire video. None of this shows up in the payment, but it shows up eventually. So, let's total Marcus honestly. About $196,000 out the door over 15 years. Now Dean. And I'm not going to pretend Dean's car was free after year 6, because it wasn't. Dean paid $55,200 to own his car outright. Then, starting around year 7, things started breaking. Brakes, tires, a water pump, suspension bushings, an alternator. One genuinely bad month with a transmission service. Realistically, Dean spent about $12,000 keeping that car alive from year 7 to year 15. Dean's total, about $67,000. $196,000 versus $67,000. But that gap isn't the real story. Here's the real story. Starting in year 7, Dean took the money he wasn't spending on a car payment, after covering repairs, and put it into a boring index fund. Not stock picking, not crypto. Just the market, 7% a year. At the end of year 15, Dean's account is worth about $145,000, plus a paid-off car worth about $5,000. Dean, roughly $150,000. Marcus, negative $6,000. The gap is $156,000. Same income, same city, same car on day 1. One decision, repeated 5 times. Now, If I only showed you the downsides of trading cars, I'd be doing exactly what every finance influencer does, and you'd be right not to trust me. So let me argue Marcus's side. Seriously, Marcus never once got stranded. In 15 years, he never had a car fail on him in traffic with his kid in the back seat. He never had a repair bill land in the same week as a medical bill. Every car he drove was under warranty, every single day. That's not nothing. That's insurance against chaos. And chaos is expensive in ways a spreadsheet doesn't capture. If you're a single parent, or you're 200 miles from family, or you physically cannot miss a shift, reliability isn't a luxury. It's the whole point. Marcus also drove 15 years of improving safety technology, automatic emergency braking, blind spot monitoring, better crash structures. Dean drove the same year 1 safety package until year 15. You cannot put a dollar figure on the accident that didn't happen. And there's one more thing, and it's the big one. Dean's entire advantage depends on Dean actually investing the difference. If Dean pays off his car in year 6 and then just absorbs that $700 a month into nicer groceries, weekend trips, and a bigger streaming bill, which is what most people genuinely do, then Dean doesn't have $145,000. Dean has a 15-year-old car with a check engine light and nothing else. And in that version, Marcus at least got 15 years of driving something nice. That's the honest version. Dean's plan doesn't win automatically. Dean's plan wins if Dean is disciplined for 9 straight years about money he can't see and doesn't feel. There are real situations where Marcus is the smart one, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. If you drive 30,000 miles a year for work, you'll blow through a car's reliable life in 5 or 6 years anyway. Keeping it 15 isn't an option. The math never gets to the good part. If the vehicle is a legitimate business expense, the tax treatment changes the entire equation, and you should talk to an actual accountant instead of a cartoon on the internet. And if the alternative is a 15-year-old car that leaves you unable to get to work, you don't have a cheap car. You have an expensive problem wearing a cheap car costume. The version of Marcus who trades every 3 years because he needs the reliability is making a defensible decision. The version of Marcus who trades every 3 years because the new one has a bigger screen is the one who paid $156,000 for a bigger screen. Here's what I actually think is going on, and it isn't about cars. The real trap isn't buying new, and it isn't trading in. The real trap is that Marcus never once made a 15-year decision. He made 5 separate 3-year decisions, and every single one of them looked reasonable in isolation. $105 more a month? Reasonable? Roll the negative equity? It's only $1,800. Everybody does it. Nobody ever sat Marcus down and showed him the 15-year total because the entire system is built to show you the monthly number and nothing else. That's not an accident. That's the product. Marcus never bought a car. Marcus bought a payment, and then he renewed it forever. Dean bought a car. And in year 6, something happened that never happened to Marcus. The payment stopped. And once a payment stops, it turns into a choice. That's the whole difference. Not the car, not the brand, not the interest rate. One of them created a moment where money became a decision. The other one never did. So if someone tells you they're thinking about trading in for something newer, don't argue about depreciation. Don't send them a spreadsheet. Just ask them one question. What's the plan for the last payment? If they have an answer, they're fine. If the answer is, there's always going to be a payment, they already know. They just haven't said it out loud yet, because that's the only answer that matters. Now, some of you are doing the math in your head right now and thinking, what if you just take a longer loan? 84 months, 96 months, lower payment, more breathing room, right? And if you're wondering what happens when the loan outlives the car by 3 years, that's a completely different conversation. And honestly, it's worse than this one. I'll do that one next. If you're currently in the middle of one of these cycles, I want to hear it in the comments. How many cars deep are you? No judgment here. I genuinely want to know how normal this is, because I don't think most people have ever added it up. And if you'd rather find out the total before you sign it than 15 years after, subscribe. That's the whole channel. I'm not here to tell you what to drive. I'm here to make sure you know the price of the thing you already decided.